Central Bank of Nigeria to take measures to save forex market.
And what could be done to improve the liquidity in the market and also the goings on in the various other markets, including the parallel markets.
And oil prices ahead of key economic data in China. While Asia markets mix as Japan GDP beats expectations. The program is Business Express, reaching you from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. I am Benny Adams, your guide. Good to have you join us at this time. As that time, we'll bring you up to speed with happenings in the world of business. I will start by telling you that the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, is planning new measures to check the deteriorating value of Naira in the foreign exchange market. These measures are coming following the meeting between President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and the acting CBN Governor, Falashodun Shonubi, at the State House. The acting governor of the Apex Bank revealed that the president is concerned about the current realities in the foreign exchange market, activities in the parallel market.
And Mr. President was very concerned, or is very, very concerned about some of the goings on in the foreign exchange market. And one of the things we discussed were what could be done to stabilize and what could be done to improve the liquidity in the market and also the goings on in the various other markets, including the parallel market. He is concerned about its impact on the average person, since unfortunately a lot of activities that we do, which are purely local, are still referenced to exchange rates in the parallel market. We've discussed and I've shared with him what we're doing to improve supply. If you look at the official market, you'll find that that market has been fairly stable and the spreads or the difference have not fluctuated as much. We do not believe that the changes going on in the parallel market are driven by pure economic demand and supply, but are topped by speculative demand from people. Some of the plans and strategies which I'm not at liberty to share with you mean sooner rather than later the speculators should be careful, because we believe the things we're doing, when they come to fruition, may result in significant losses to them. But my present
research indicates that potatoes and cassava can reduce over depends on wheat for flour in making bread and confectionaries. For this reason, the federal government is training master bakers and youth on the use of potatoes and cassava flour. Musa Baba Aliu reports.
For wheat for flour has become a major concern globally as supplies of the produce dropped due to the Russian-Ukraine war. This, therefore, is affecting the price of bread and other confectionaries in Nigeria. However, Nigerians have recognized that potatoes and cassava can replace wheat.
You can make pastries, you can make confectionaries from white flesh sweet potato, and you can use it as a food for diabetics.
With this innovation, the federal government, through the Institute of Industrial Research, FIRO, has commenced training of youths and master bakers on how to develop and use the produce.
FIRO has increased the varieties of bread available to us for consumption through its R&D efforts at developing local contents in bread making. The demonstration we are doing today is as a result of our R&D efforts at developing cassava and potato breads due to abundant availability of these raw materials in Nigeria.
Muhammad Sule Hassan is one of the beneficiaries of the training, says the initiative will change his perception about bread making.
Like person with disability like me, I have no doubt with the training so far, I can go anywhere, provided the means is there.
Over the years, the Federal Ministry of Agriculture has been campaigning for the inclusion of 10% cassava flour in bread making.
And now to speak on how crisis in Nigerian Republic is affecting the commodities market is the chairman, Arewa Economic Forum, Ibrahim Yahya Dandakata. You're welcome to Business Express.
Thank you.
Okay, being in this business, can you give us, particularly in figures, possible business volume between, not just the volume, plus the value between Nigeria and our neighboring country, Nigeria Republic?
Thank you once again. Nigeria and Niger have a long history of trading, because we're talking about the same people on the contiguous border between Nigeria and Niger. The formal trade value is about $234 million last year. But most of the trade that occurs between Nigeria and Niger, because as I mentioned, the contiguous border that we have is informal. And that amount is valued at about more than 515 billion naira. And since this crisis started, we have been having losses of about 13 billion per week. The traders have been having losses of about 13 billion per week. And we're talking about perishable commodities. We're talking about food items. We're talking about animal livestock that we import from Niger. A lot of the livestock that we consume in Nigeria are from Niger. So this border closure has really affected our capacity to interact with our neighbors and our business partners.
Okay, at this level, how would you establish the fact that most of the business transactions is actually informal, and we're talking about food commodities, which are actually perishable? Then you're also talking about livestock. Just about yesterday on this program, we had to x-ray the losses being recorded in the onion market, which is just one commodity. And you said we have several commodities, including livestock. Now, with these losses being recorded, what is the way to go? Are we saying this should end as soon as possible? Are we saying we should look inwards? What is the impact, possibly the negative impact on not conducting this business as we should?
Well, our cry has always been that the ECOWAS as a group should look at this crisis as a family feud, and there should be diplomacy should be the best way out of it. And we are appealing to the Nigerian government that the sanctions that are being put against Niger Republic should be targeted at the junta and their cronies, while the ordinary people that are our traders, our trading partners, should be allowed to breathe. Because as I mentioned earlier somewhere, Niger is a very poor country, and most of the people are impoverished. So continuing this sanction will make the economy disintegrate, and will make these people more poor. And there is a likelihood of a stream of refugees crossing over from Niger to Nigeria, because we have a bigger economy. We are the big brother. Niger GDP is about $34 billion US, while Nigeria's GDP is about $500 billion US. So we are the bigger brother here, and we should look at it in that way. Our cry and our appeal to the federal government is that there should be a look towards alleviating the sufferings of peoples on both sides of the border, because the Sahelian region is one of the poorest regions in Africa, and the people living in those areas are vulnerable to whatever little change that they have, especially when it comes to issues of crisis, like this one. So we're appealing to both governments, and most especially the Nigerian government, to look at it and find better ways to arrest this crisis than inflicting more harm or more jeopardy on the people that are already living in precarious conditions.
Okay, having established the fact that these losses are on both sides of the border, talking about Niger as well as Nigeria, where is the place of post-harvest losses? What should we be doing? These are an eye-opener to the fact that some of these agri-commodities we have, particularly food items, are from farm to market. What should we do in between to preserve these commodities, particularly in situations like this, like going forward?
Well, the issue of post-harvest loss is something that has been going on in Nigeria, and different governments have tried to do something about it. But as at now, the issue that we're talking about is not even about the post-harvest loss. As at now, we're in the middle of the rainy season. We're having different crises in Nigeria about the rainy season too. And if you are having this kind of crisis in Nigeria, you can imagine what will be happening in the Niger Republic with this kind of disruption that they have. So the issue is not even about the losses. It's not even about the harvest lost. It's about getting the harvest done. Because once there is a crisis of this nature being ignited, then the issue of harvest doesn't even arise. As at now, the issue of banditry has made a lot of people in the Sahel region to leave their farms. We are having that crisis now. Now, if you have a bigger crisis than the banditry, which is military incursion into the Niger Republic, then we'll have something bigger than that to contend with. So it's not even about the harvest, it's about getting the harvest. It's not about the losses after the harvest, it's about getting the harvest now.
The losses are still continuous. The losses are still there. Take, for instance, the perishables for now. But then you've made your points. But looking at the situation as it is now, while we look forward to a quick resolution of the issues for us to have resumption of trade and reduce the losses being experienced, are there other alternatives? Take, for instance, other borders that are open to Nigeria that we can actually get some of these goods out. Yes, it's a fact that the Trans-Saharan route goes through Niger. Any alternatives to kind of take advantage of at this moment?
Yeah, there are. There are and there is. You see, apart from being a trading partner, Niger is a transit point for businessmen in Nigeria. With the recent opening or partial opening of the borders in northern Nigeria, that's the Jibia, Ilela, and Megatari borders, a lot of traders in northern Nigeria find it easier to import their goods through Cotonou port because it's faster to clear, and pay their duties at those designated border points. Now, with the closure of the border with Niger, we cannot do that, and we have a lot of stranded containers and commodities, most of which, are, as you rightly said, are perishable. And there is a border at Kebbi State called Maji Illo border. It's in Niger, it's the border between Kebbi State and Benin Republic, which is not under sanction. We've been appealing, and we're up to now appealing to the federal government that they should designate that border for the ease of our trading activities. I mean, the losses that we're facing, the losses that are starting at us is they're humongous. We're talking about 2,000 containers of the value of between $20,000 to $70,000 per each container. The losses are humongous. And we were forced to use that route because of the problem, the intractable problem that has been happening in Apapa ports, which we're happy that the federal government has constituted a committee to look into that issue of port decongestion. But before that happens, trade has to continue. People have to leave, will continue to do their business. So that's the situation we're in now. We're appealing to the federal government to look at this problem and designate that particular border point at Maji Illo in Kebbi State to be a custom point that we can be paying our dues and duties and import our produce and products.
Okay, while we look forward, as you appeal, and while we look forward to response from the authorities responsible for that, now that we have to use longer routes for imports as well as exports, yes, the cost is going to be more. Who is going to be at the receiving end for now?
Well, there is going to be the consumers and the traders. If there are losses, then the traders are going to bear the losses. The cost of extended cost of doing business is going to be transferred ultimately to the buyer. But let me assure you that there is not much difference between clearing goods at proper ports and bringing them through SEMI. The only difference is the speed at which you will be able to do that. If you are clearing your goods at a proper port, it will take you not less than 3 weeks to clear a container. But if you are doing it through SEMI border, it will get to Niger at a transit point in less than 10 days. So it's not about the cost, it's about the efficiency and return on capital employed over time. I mean, a trader wants to turn his money as quickly as possible. And if you are met with bottlenecks that will make your trade to be difficult, you will have to look for an alternative. Where nobody is happy going through Cotonou and through Niger, but we are forced to do that because we need to get our goods as quickly as possible to the market.
Okay, talking about getting our goods as quickly as we should to the market, and transportation is still an issue. Where is the place of our inland ports? How effective are they to kind of complement this situation we have today?
The issue is not about the problem in Apapa is not about only about the clearing time that you spend. It's about getting the container out of the Apapa ports. You know, the gridlock has been there. The traffic gridlock has been there for more than 5 years. I mean, the previous administration even constituted a high-powered committee headed by the vice president at that time to look at that issue of the gridlock in Apapa. It's not only about the time that you spend with the customs trying to clear your container. It's about getting the container out of the port. That one too is an issue. And from Apapa,
which is the issue of access routes.
Yeah, well, the gridlock is the problem with the gridlock in Apapa is multifaceted. There are so many issues that have to.
Initially, it started from accumulated stock coming from trade disruptions. Yes, it started from COVID-19.
Exactly.
Back in a few years.
Exactly.
From COVID-19, there was a backlog.
Then the roads. Then the access
complemented, roads, yes.
Exactly.
But government then, I remember government then made efforts to ensure that the whole process of clearing these containers was automated. I remember the NEG, National Executive Council, gave some approvals for humongous amounts of money for the automation of the process, particularly with the customs, as well as Lagos State government in collaboration with the federal government ensuring that those roads are actually opened for access. Has that impacted much?
Well, the call system has been there and it's been on and off. The road palliative measures that they used to are still being done. Well, I can't say exactly what the problem is, but the gridlock still persists.
Yeah, it still persists.
Yeah, it still persists. So it's an issue that the present administration should look into it, and there is no problem that is beyond the government if they really want to sort it out. So it's an issue that we are praying that they should look into it and provide a quick solution to it. There are so many alternatives to getting containers out of the ports. I mean, we're talking about the railways are there, the rail lines are there, they are not being used, and there are so many. A single train can move about 20 containers at one time instead of one truck. So there are other alternatives that the federal government can use apart from the inland ports. But you see, you have to understand that even the inland ports, they have to get the containers off the ships and onto the trucks, and the trucks have to travel out of the ports to
the rail station.
To the various stations. No, the rails, as at now, there are rail lines up to inside Apapa, up to some of the terminals in Apapa ports. So it's an issue of the government doing what is necessary and getting things cleared and done.
I'm sure the regulators involved and those that should ensure that happens are also listening. Thank you so very much, Ibrahim Yahaya Dandakata, Chairman Arewa Economic Forum. Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you for having me.
Point in time. I would love to have you again and again.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Yes.
Now, moving on. Determined to cushion the effects of high cost of transportation for staff of the ministry, Permanent Secretary Ambassador Gabriel Aduda says the Minister of Petroleum has taken delivery of 2 buses to be converted to gas. This, he says, is the first batch of such buses in line with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's determination to reduce the temporary challenges occasioned by the subsidy removal across the country.
including you people, to it, to ensure that these buses are converted to gas as quickly as possible, so that the moment we see the reduction and we see how our staff are enjoying it, then we can reach out to our other ministries and encourage them to do the same. But one thing I can assure you is that by the grace of God, and as this administration continues, we will work to ensure that more buses are provided for the ministry.
Let's now take a trip to the commodities market. Now let's see how much the Naira is exchanging for other currencies around the world. Well, while the equities market resumed for transaction this morning, market actually closed in the first week of trade on a bearish note. A total of 259 million shares valued at 4.2 billion naira were traded in 5,899 deals. Compared with the previous NGX trading day, which was the close of transaction on Friday, it shows that 47% decline in volume, 50% decline in turnover, but 2% improvement in deals, and the market capitalization of the stock exchange was 35.4 trillion naira. Now, Asia markets are mixed as Japan GDP beats expectations. Nneka Oko is standing by. Nneka, can you give us a feedback on how the market is going?
Thank you, Penny. Asia-Pacific markets were mixed this Tuesday ahead of key economic data out from China. Japan's Nikkei 225 climbed 0.56%. The Shanghai Composite declined 0.06%, while Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index extended losses and slid 0.96%. European markets opened mixed as investors weighed data from Asia and the UK. Both the DAX in Germany and the CAC 40 of France were marginally positive in the first minutes of trading, while UK FTSE slipped by 0.26%. For the US, futures tied to the S&P 500 were little changed early Tuesday morning. Futures linked to the broad market index added 0.11%, and Nasdaq 100 rose 0.23%, while the Dow Jones Industrial Average was flat. Now, African markets have also seen varied performances lately. This morning, the market opened in negative territory, with both South Africa's JSE Africa Top 40 and Namibia's overall index continuing in their downward trend. And that's Global Market Review. I am Nneka Oko.
Thanks very much, Nneka. And this is where we end this edition of Business Express. We value your feedback, so keep the comments, observations, and suggestions coming. Be informed that all previous episodes are available on YouTube on the NTA's channel. Business Express returns tomorrow.